Welcome to the Jann Arden podcast and show. As always, I'm here with Caitlin Green, Sarah Burke, my dog Poppy, the trees, the bear occasionally, and our very, very, very special guest. And if I may say, my friend, Mary Jo Eustace, is here. Fresh off Traders, Canada. Do we have a sound effect?
The crowds, I know. Isn't it exciting? By the way, congratulations on that beautiful professional intro. It was mellow. It was just gorgeous. I loved it.
Well,
Very
I know.
nice, Jann.
I think, people have, sometimes they just go into very long intros. Like they click on Wikipedia on the internet and they read off this kind of diatribe of stuff you've done, your divorces, she was married to this, and then we went there, and her children and this. And, but I mean, you and I go way back. So let's just start at the beginning, because you had a cooking show that was ahead of its time.
It was.
And so just remind our listeners what that was of your wonderful sidekick, Ken, and kind of how we first met, because this is a fun story.
It's a great story. So yeah, we did this cooking show. It was before my son was born. So it was like 26 years ago. And we did a little cooking show called What's for Dinner. I made $100 an episode. We'd shot 6 shows a day. I would drink at the end and be wasted for the last 2 shows. You would be too. And it was sort of this, it became kind of a cult hit right out of the box. And basically, my co-host, who was a foot shorter than I was, I basically added him on national TV and would make fun of him. We'd make fun of each other for years and years and years. We did about 700 episodes of the show. And it became this huge hit. Now, the truth is, if that had have happened today, I'd still be talking to you, but I'd be living in Montecito in $1 billion house, right? Pretty much, because we were harbingers of this, kind of reality TV. And it was just the most amazing experience. And we were so excited. I think it was our first or second season. We were going to have a big star on the show. And it was Jann Arden. We could not believe it. We were having Jann. We had a live audience. And, most of them are on respirators when they come, right? They wheel them in from the old age home. And we just needed to fill the chairs, asses in the seats. And we did the What's for Dinner music. And Jann was coming through the back door. And our set was so cheap, she broke off the doorknob. Okay. Do you remember this?
I do remember that. And it didn't take much at all. Like, I literally just went to open the door and it came off in my hand. So I apologize. That's why you're not in Montecito, because I fucking wrecked your set.
I know that. There goes our budget for the year. So she's trying to get in the door and she can't get in. And then she actually comes to our fake kind of patio thing with a doorknob and a cantaloupe, like as a housewarming gift. It was really kind of bizarre and fun. And that's when we met, and we, fell in love with her. Ken and I just adored her. And my love affair has continued for decades because she's just amazing. But you were our first huge star, you and the Bare Naked Ladies. Aww. Seriously, that was a big deal for us.
It really was cutting edge, and you were ahead of the curve. I mean, as far as the phenomenon that's happened with the Food Network and, all the things that have the offshoot of what's happened with food in the last 15, 20 years, you guys were ahead of it. And this show was popular. I loved watching it. You were hilarious. You are well known for reasons you probably don't want to be well known for. We are going to get to Traders because we want to hear all about that. But
yes,
you're famous for a divorce, and the other woman you also kind of became famous for.
Correct.
From your ex-husband. It was a really, really painful time in your life, and there was a lot of anger. But I've watched you, Mary Jo, over the years turn that anger and resentment and disappointment in a person into triumph. And it's been really interesting to watch you turn the narrative on what happened in your personal life that was a really fucking terrible, shitty thing. It happens to women every single day that are deceived, betrayed, all those things. But I've watched you turn it into golden threads and weave them in and out of your heart. It's been really something to see.
Oh my God, I love that. I could honestly, that's so beautifully put. Yeah, it's been a shit show. Yeah. And, I was sort of thinking about this, and it goes back to our Canadianism a little bit. When I was thrown into this whole mix of tabloid culture and everything, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't. I got such an indoctrination to it over the last 2 decades. And, it is sort of a joke and kind of funny and all that stuff. But the way that it actually affects your real life is very profound. like
Yeah.
the garbage and all this stuff
It's not
all
funny.
around it. No, it's not funny. And we've talked about this before. You know, I love that conversation I had with you about your dad. And you said if your dad hadn't have been the way he was, you wouldn't have been who you are today, right? With your music and your gifts and all that stuff. So my divorce actually gave me a lot of gifts because I had to learn who I was as a person. I had to rise above. I'm still in LA now. I don't even know why. I don't know why I'm still here. But it taught me so many things along the way, like empathy and understanding. And this fascination with this shitty culture. I don't get it. I don't care. I don't get it at all, but I've sort of been in the heart of it in my family. And it's been a long ride to get out of it. And I think it's always going to be wherever I go, Jann, in the world, people are like, oh, you're that girl. They know. They still know decades later. So I tried to turn it around and make it into something better than it was. But it was a huge life lesson. And I did get a lot of positives. I'm so glad I'm single. Are you single still?
Am I single?
You
Is
better
that
be.
Catholic? I'm very single.
Okay. You better be,
Yeah,
biatch. We've talked about this.
I'm married to Cove Soda.
Oh my
I
God.
see the Cove. I saw you chugging that back.
I
Okay.
do love to chug a Cove. Well, I think too, when you go through a divorce and it becomes such a public thing, it's one thing to go through a divorce just with your friends and family and how friends kind of get split up. They take him,
Tell
these
me
guys
about
take
it.
you, the kids'
Yeah.
loyalties are tested a little bit, but because he left, that typical, stereotypical, we were working on a movie together, fell in love with the
Lifetime
star.
movie. Not
A
even like
Lifetime
a
movie.
good
Yeah, let's
movie.
let's make sure we say it's a Lifetime movie.
Lifetime
But the fact
movie.
that, it was Tori Spelling, it wasn't just a girl down the street or his secretary or something equally as nefarious, but that it was a famous person. But you really have turned lemons into lemonade. So fast forward, for one thing, you look kick-ass, Mary Jo. You have a
Thank you.
podcast called Senior Bitches that I absolutely fucking love. You have had amazing guests on there, and you've talked about everything from
You.
menopause to bodies to sex to, hormones. I mean, you guys have covered all
Everything.
this stuff, everything.
Everything.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And just it's a lot of fun, but it's also very transparent and to the heart. And you talk about things that are uncomfortable. Like you're
Yeah.
not afraid of that shit.
No,
You're
and
like,
I'm
here it is.
fascinated by it. And I'm actually developing a show around it, and you would be a
Oh my
guest. So get
God.
ready because I'm coming for that 6 to 8 week stay I've talked about earlier. I'm going to come up there and stay with you. But I want to travel the world, and I want to interview women and some men about the landscape of aging post 55. I am fascinated by it. Like we've got stories with a 59-year-old woman in Rome, like with a 26-year-old guy, like people who changed their fluidity and sexuality, like my friend Maria McKee from Lone Justice in her 50s. This is kind of the juiciest part of life, don't you think? Because I think this is really where you have to have big dick energy or whatever, you want to, this is not for the
You
faint
want to
of
have
heart.
really long labia. You just want to have
Huge.
long swinging labia.
Huge. Lots of labia. That's
Yeah.
what I say. That's really my hashtag, MJ lots of labia Eustace. But this is the juicy part that I want to get into. So I'm not, but you're like that too. You'll talk about anything. When you were on my radio show, you were so brave. I loved what you said because you said, this is my trajectory. This is where I am. And if you're not with me, it's okay. You used different language, but you said, forget it. I'm on this path.
It's just
and
that
I love
whole
that.
idea, and Caitlin and Sarah, they're so much more ahead of where I was at their age. Like I look at them with such awe sometimes, like both you women, because you guys are entrepreneurial. You've got your shit together. You just are doing stuff. Fuck, I was just so, even at 40, just really struggling to figure out. I want to throw it like to you, Caitlin, of any questions that you have, because I think it's such an interesting, the age gap that you and I, Mary Jo, have with these two women, and
Right.
just where they're at a different, it's a whole different fucking thing for them than it was for us.
Well, how old are you guys? How old are you?
I'm 40.
Oh,
I'm 37.
great. Wow, ladies.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to be a senior bitch.
You, but you guys have senior bitch vibes. They're
Yeah.
Senior bitch energy.
Name of episode.
Title of
Senior
app.
bitch energy. I love that. I love that.
Well, no, I feel like it has changed recently in terms of the idea that, after the age of 40 or 50 or whatever that number is for people, that they feel like, you're no longer as vital as you once were to society. Like, I do honestly feel like that's really changed. I'm a big reality TV show fan, and so honest to God, like the housewives for me, I was like, these women are crushing it. They look fabulous. Some of them have been through the fire when it comes to divorces, to messy personal lives, to whatever it is. And they're thriving, and they're, like, look at like Lisa Rinna, for example, right? This is someone who previously everyone was like, oh, she's like on the shopping network and she's in like Depends ads or whatever. And I was like, no, she's still hot. She's married to Harry Hamlin. She like looks incredible. So I think that the idea of like aging and what that means has really, really changed. And far and away, some of the most stunningly beautiful and still like working constantly. I mean, look at Nicole Kidman. Like, she works so much. So I do really think that's changed. And like, do you feel that way too? Right? Like now you're like, okay, I'm 62 years old and I feel you're in this different like place of your life. But like,
Aren't you 55, Mary Jo?
47. I don't know where that.
Sorry, my Google search then waylaid me.
But it's so funny. I do a podcast called Senior Bitches, and I can't say I'm 62. Go on.
Okay, whatever the number is.
Aren't you 36? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
29. What is going on here?
What the fuck has happened?
Welcome to my dementia. Okay, here we go.
Hey, wait, are you two the same age, Jann and MJ?
We don't know. We don't speak to it.
We're not sure.
We're not sure.
Is that Jann? I'm not even sure where I am right now. So
I know.
I think
just bleep out whatever I've cited.
Did you call me or did I call you, Mary Jo?
I'm not sure. I've been here for 2 days, just hoping for companionship. I just wanted a connection. I don't know. I'm so happy to be somewhere.
Like I feel like that is something I've seen in like really in my life. So what was that like? Because I feel like I'm like, okay, so the generation ahead of me, like y'all changed that. You guys did that. What was that like for you then to be like? Did you guys ever look ahead and see someone older than you or a generation ahead who was really crushing it? Like, who was that for you, and how did that change things for the direction of this phase of your life?
I can't say that I did so much. I mean, the obvious ones like Jane Fonda and people like that. I mean, but no, and especially living in LA, my God, seriously. So no, I don't think we had. I mean, I found some as I went along the way. Like I found really interesting women and peers and stuff. But I didn't even think about aging. At 50, I didn't even think about it. And then when I started getting to the end of my 50s, I'm like, oh, I think there's an expiration date on the other side. Like I better start to, get my joy and figure this stuff out. And this whole thing about aging, and that's my mother calling. Sorry. Did you hear that?
No.
That's my mother calling.
No.
She has a little dementia. She just
perfect.
calls all the time. She just love it. Please don't call Mom. Yeah, I think you have to find your path as you go. And that's why I love with the Senior Bitches when I get to talk to all these people around the world about their experience, because they want to make us invisible. Oh my God, don't even get me started on the present administration. Like we have less rights than a house cat. I mean, they want us to go away because we're strong and we're powerful and we don't give a shit anymore. We don't care about any of it. So that's sort of a new thing, but I do feel more confident. I do feel like I don't care as much. I do feel braver. I say yes more. I say no more. So it's a really interesting landscape of life. And we've talked about it because there's a lot of loss that you have to mitigate as you go into it. And then you have to kind of reinvent and connect with your joy and your curiosity. So I think it's kind of the most interesting part of life, actually. I really, really do. So
I agree.
I love we're doing a new path. I love that. And I love, Jann, you are so vocal with what you believe in. Your Instagram, not only do I laugh my ass off when I see it, and I just love when you just go, you guys are fucktards. You don't even, you're just put it out there. You're so brave. Like you are
Fucktard 1
really,
and 2.
Fucktard 1 and 2, you assholes, shove this up your ass. Like I'm with you every step of the way because that is brave.
Well, you don't have to follow me. So I
enjoy
to
it.
that point. It's just like you really don't have to follow me. I think I lose as many followers as I gain. I sort of stay at the 200,000-ish mark on Instagram. And I think I do go up incrementally, but I think I also offend people and they just fall off. And And I don't, so it's kind of like this even thing. I'm like a teeter-totter, but I don't monetize my life by that little red heart being hit or likes. It has nothing to do with my life. And I feel for younger women who do monetize that is their currency, is having any kind of reaction. Like, even when I hear grown ass women talk about, oh my God, I posted that thing of and I got 1,500 likes. Like, I'm way up from my last picture. I'm like, stop caring about that. Put that shit out the window, put that out to pasture, because it's a very dangerous thing to find your self-worth in. There's no point. And I love that
Well, it's
about you, because
endless.
you don't do it. And I've watched you doing that for years. Like, you have probably had butted heads with a few women along the way, I would imagine too, Mary Jo. You've probably hit up against women, as strong women do, that you're like, oh no, I see what you're doing to me, and I'm not gonna fucking do it. So
Well,
back
it's
up.
interesting. I can't say names, but one I can't, but I'll tell you off air. Huge star that I had to deal with, on an intimate basis, who is kind of beloved, but people know she's crazy. Oh my God.
Are you talking about on the podcast or in
She's
another
talking about
capacity?
Sarah McLachlan. It's very obvious.
That's Sarah McLachlan. Can you believe that bitch? The stuff we put up with her. No, and I've had to deal with a couple of women like that. And it's like, what am I learning going against these women? Because they present as though we're all kumbaya, but really when it gets right down to it, they're not. And you have to come back like this at them. And I've learned
Dose
a
of
lot
reality.
having to do that. Yeah, it's like
but if you
said, Jan.
don't do it, they'll steal from you.
Oh yeah.
They'll literally do a labyrinth thing where you see that string of light blue essence being sucked into their bodies. You can't let people do that.
No. And they're shocked when you do it. When you might say to them, go fuck yourself over a text, that might have happened. They can't believe it. They threaten to sue you, and you're like, bring it on. Yeah. So I could have handled that one a bit better. I'll be honest about that.
Well, they could have handled it better too. So don't even second guess yourself.
Okay.
Love
Sarah,
a good go fuck yourself.
Sarah, I want you to ask away.
Respond to this.
No,
her and those dogs and those commercials. I mean, come on, Sarah, let's go.
Call us now, Sarah.
Just to elaborate on where Caitlin was going, I think, with her question. And Caitlin, maybe you feel this way now too. I know, Jann, you've sort of talked about feeling this way, that like there's these moments where you feel like, oh, I'm just getting started, even though you're 37 or 40, right? Where we've been conditioned to think that that's 21, and then at 30, it's expired. So I am wondering if there was a moment where you were like coming into that feeling specifically, and what contributed to it.
That's a very good question. I think that I don't even think you realize you're aging until you hear the number. I think in a lot of ways you're like, oh, that number. I know a lot of people dead at that number. Like it sort of, hits you. Yeah. I think that when I had just turned 60, I had a lot of things that happened at once, sort of this implosion. And I went to Rome for 2 or 3 months on my own. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know anybody. And I really had to sort of eat, pray, love. Yeah. And I had to kind of had to sit in everything that was going on, and I really had to address it. And there was such beauty in the journey, and from where I started to where I finished, because who am I going to hide behind? There was nothing that I could. Yeah. I actually had to deal with this shit. And at that point, that's when I came up with Senior Bitches. And I really genuinely am obsessed with this, like with this age, and like what women like Jann are doing in their lives, and I think it's like my mission. I just want to, I'm curious, I'm a seeker. I want to hear people's stories because I think they're so healing and connecting. So it was my moment where I was like, wow, like I can't fuck around too much anymore. I have to make this next, my back nine, as I call it.
I love a golf reference.
What I want it to be, and it's not for the faint of heart, right? It's not. But I think it's a very curious.
Oh my God, what a great analogy!
Yeah,
you've hit her in the heart. You have pulled your golden bow back, shot your arrow, and it has pierced the golfing heart of Sarah Burke. She's going to use that. Well, I'm in the back nine, and that date's on the
back nine of my life, part 2, part 3. When I had my 60th birthday party, the invitation said, "Welcome to my back nine."
Oh my God, I love it.
And I'm not talking about my bum hole. So thank you very much.
Well, I was kind of. It was, there
Nice.
was lots in the invitation. So that's the deal. My parents are 87 and 89, so I'm in that club now. Lots of stuff going on, but just want to retain the joy and the curiosity.
Are you playing bridge?
I played bridge when I was younger.
Okay.
I'm a bridge
I don't even
player.
know. I don't even know what that is. I couldn't.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can barely do fish.
Yeah,
Listen,
fish is hard.
Why don't I know more about traders? Like, why don't I do what do I need to do to understand what this game is? Because it didn't start in Canada. You're on the Canadian version of Traders.
I am.
This franchise, I cannot not talk to you about this because I cannot believe your body. And I don't know if that's inappropriate to say. And so I apologize because
why?
You look so strong and kick ass and completely sexy and just well and fierce, and brave is a stupid word that people throw out at other women if they put on a fucking bathing suit. You just look goddamn normal. You just look fantastic. And just tell me about Traders. Where did this happen? How did you get on this show? What is this show? We've got all the time in the world. So please tell us what this is. Well, I don't know much about the franchise.
I'm going to tell you, I have to do this podcast every week just for my ego. Okay. We just have to do it so Jann can say.
Well, I mean it. You just, I thought I struggled with, can I say that?
Yeah, well, you're the one who told me it. I said I want to put myself in a bikini for senior bitches. You said do it. Who gives a shit? So I did that. I did that. So, okay. So I've been asked to do a lot of reality shows. Like, you might find that hard to believe, but I have been. And I turned them all down. And then I got a call from a casting director who I love, Heather Muir. And she's asked me to do other stuff. And she said, how would you feel about doing Traders? And it's actually my son's favorite show. And I was just horrified because it's my worst nightmare come true to do a show like that. And I said, let me think about it. Talk to my son. He said, Mom, if you don't do it, you're a pussy. You got to do it. So then I was like, okay. So she called me and I said, I'm in. I'm going to do it. Okay. So here's the premise. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
22 people go to a location like a castle or a manor. And there's 22 people, and out of the 22 people, they choose 3 traders, and you don't know who the traders are. You with me?
Yep.
Okay.
Like a mole. There's 3 moles. There's 3
there's
badass people.
Bad apples. So what you do every day is you have breakfast together with your people. And then you go do a challenge. Like one challenge, we had to pull a Trojan horse. And then if you win the challenge, you put money in the collective pot. Okay? So you do that. And then they do reality TV all around the manor, and you try and figure out who's a traitor. Then you go to the round table at night and you banish somebody from the kingdom. Okay? You banish somebody. And then every night the traitors murder somebody. And you wake up the next morning and you're murdered and you just have to leave.
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
So I know it's lovely. So the object of the game is to get rid of all the traitors so the faithfuls can get the money. But that never happens because the traitors really have all the power. So that's the premise of the game. You do the challenge, you win money or you don't. You banish somebody from the kingdom at night. Someone gets murdered. You walk into breakfast the next morning and you see who gets murdered. And that's
because they're not there.
They're not there. So it's 10 days of intense, no computers, no phones. You can't talk, like you're isolated.
Do you sleep there, Mary Jo?
Yeah.
Do you sleep in this place?
Yeah.
So you're away from home and you're there without any communication with your kids or anything like that.
Thank God. I mean, yes, I am like zero. So you can't watch TV. You can't do anything. And you wait for them to come and escort you to the challenges, to meals, to the round table, the whole thing. So you have no outside stimulation and you're just trying to figure out, is this person fucking me over? Is this person a traitor?
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I did. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, fun.
I really, really enjoyed it. And of course, the gays were all with me. I had the gays in my pocket.
Yes,
for sure.
Of course you did.
And then the hetero male that I trusted screwed me over. That guy, my buddy. Yeah. He thought I was a traitor.
It's not like you didn't already know this lesson. It's not like you didn't know this lesson.
I knew that lesson. So what I did is I was actually quite a popular player, but on the first challenge for the questions, my name was on every question, like who's the most manipulative, who's the most powerful, who, and I knew they were coming after me. So when I found out that my football player friend was going to come after me at the round table, I made a decision. Do I go big or do I go home? So I blew up the round table and just created chaos and got voted off and said, see you later, bitches. So it was a ton of fun. I loved it. I loved it. I'm glad I said yes.
Well,
totally
it's good to not be afraid to try things. I mean, just to try things. So many of us just go, oh, I don't know, it'd be kind of uncomfortable. And I don't mind being uncomfortable. I don't think any of you girls mind being uncomfortable. Caitlin, you don't mind being uncomfortable and doing stuff?
No, I wouldn't want to do like Fear Factor. I'm not like going to lie down with a bunch of like maggots and stuff.
But bottle of worms. No.
No,
well,
going to like a manor is for me.
Going to the manor was fun. I made good friends. We're all all over the chats and everything. And it was really a good thing because you had to pivot. It was in the present moment, right? So you didn't know what was going to happen. So 10 minutes before we go on camera for this intense roundtable, the director was laughing so hard he couldn't call the cuts, right? Because it was so insane. And so you make that decision before you sit down at the round table. What am I going to do here? Because you can't look to anybody for guidance. So it's very much in the moment you make these decisions. And I did tell them before I went, the one thing I can't do is be buried alive. That I cannot do. I couldn't be buried alive. That was like my bar. Aside from that, I think
that's a pretty high bar. I think buried alive is not bad.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Senior Bitches possible television portion of this branding.
Yes.
I want to ask you, why do you think people are comfortable talking to you? People tell you shit. Mm-hmm. They talk to you in such a way that they surprise themselves. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this to Mary Jo. Mm-hmm. Oh, my mouth is still moving. I'm still telling her this. Why?
Well, I think it's the same thing you have, because I bet you have that too. Don't you have that?
I don't know if I do that. Not
Caitlin, does she? I think she does.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate your kindness, but I don't really think of myself that way. But I've heard so many podcasts with you and your guests. I love the one with Carolyn, our shopping Carolyn friend. She's fantastic.
She's great girl.
I follow
went
her.
To lunch with her. Went to lunch with her, and she's just amazing.
Yeah, she's really cool. But the conversation you guys had it wasn't what you thought. I had my mind made up about this girl, about being something really, this woman.
Yeah.
And you really got some stuff out of her. Carolyn her whole vibe is get up, get fucking dressed, put some jewelry on, get a handbag that's cute, put on some shoes, and get the fuck out the door.
Get the fuck out the door.
Do not lament. Don't sit there. She doesn't care if you walk through the mall. She doesn't care if you just drive around the neighborhood or go for a coffee or sit. But I was interested. And so when I first started following her, I thought, oh God, this woman, she gets changed in front of the mirror every day. She's in her bra and underpants. And she just says, this is me. And she grabs her cellulite on her leg and she gives it a shake. And she does all these things. And when I saw her on your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I can't miss this. Because I know that you're going to get this conversation out of her. So back to my question. Why do you think women in particular talk to you in that way?
Even David Furnish, my friend, Elton John's husband, when I interviewed him.
Oh, that guy.
That guy. And that was really interesting because we got to a very deep conversation about the 14-year-old boy in him that was still ashamed. And I was like, how long has it taken you to love that guy? And he went, I don't know, 50 years. I think that I'm genuinely curious about people and I can read them. And I always try and come in a different angle to talk to them about it. And I think my curiosity, and I've got a lot of empathy, and there's always more to the story than, what you're seeing. And with Carolyn, what interested me so much about her is that basically, a few things. Her husband got fired right after they moved into this big house and everything was all LA and all great. And they looked at each other and she's like, I got to get my shit together because who's going to pay the bills? And he had a tech background and he was like, let's do this together. And she had been doing it for years and getting ridiculed by people like friends. And, that you're on Instagram every day. And, now she's been, lauded by Forbes. She has her own podcast. But be careful what you wish for. She works her ass off. It is 24/7. So it looks a certain way. But I love that she presents as human. And we also talked about her dad had just passed away. And it was sort of like the Truman Show. Like she live streamed her grief. So it wasn't just the Amazon handbag. It was like, now I'm in that sandwich generation. So that's where I was really fascinated to talk to her. And then we became friends and I went to lunch with her, and she's just as complicated and cool in real life. But it's not just about selling clothes, and nothing ever is, right?
No.
It's never what you think it is. It's always so much more interesting underneath all of it. So that's, even when I interviewed Jeannie Becker, we talked about her parents being Holocaust survivors, which I think is integral to her personality. And she talked about her divorce a bit, which she never does, because that's integral to her.
Was that to do with her book coming out, Mary Jo? Because I know
this
Jeannie
was before.
Oh,
this
okay.
was before.
Because I know she just had a memoir come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she was spilling stuff, and she was just fell in love with her.
Her life. There's another woman who's just the cancer, like you said, the Holocaust survivor background with her parents, and starting fashion television when it wasn't even a thing. And here's this girl trying to get interviews with Karl Lagerfeld and all these iconic, like, people talk about what she did for fashion and how she turned it on its ear and
25
really made
years.
made it accessible.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
she's so good. And when I interviewed her, I said, "So you're welcome. You're a senior bitch." She said, "I don't like that word." And I was like, "Oh God, here we go." So right off the top, and then I said to her, "What was it like to not only be at the table for these conversations at that age, but you were leading it?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Hold on. You actually had the microphone. Like, you're this young girl interviewing Robert Plant and Sting, and you changed the landscape around that. Like, that is powerful. That's so powerful for us to watch that." And she said, "You're right." And then she just leaned into it, and she's just a really beautiful spirit, And yeah, you're
but
right.
She was pushing back with you a little bit, hey?
At first.
Did she get past the senior bitches thing?
Yeah, I said, "Jeannie, go with it." And there was a moment, and she was like, "Okay." A couple of rocky moments, but then by the end, she was giving me love advice.
Oh.
She was saying, "Don't be scared to fall in love." Are you dating? Are you doing that?
I'm not dating.
Yeah,
I'm not dating. Are you dating?
No.
Sarah Burke is the only person dating at this table. Caitlin's happily married. She's got a beautiful fucking edible son. That should just be salted and peppered and put into the biggest, puffiest bun and just bite his toes off.
He's made of pudding.
He's a pudding pop.
So
but Sarah has hilarious
sugar.
dating. Like, she has hilarious dating things. Like, the one that really kills me, Sarah, that you shared with us, this is like 2-3 weeks going back, is that you were too drunk to go on the date. You got too drunk to go on a date. Oh no, I'm getting this wrong, aren't I?
Mary Jo,
talk to me.
I went to see my favorite band before I met up with this
Weezer.
person. So I didn't get drunk. Yes. So I didn't get drunk because I was avoiding, going on the date, or thought it would, I thought I would
go on.
I thought I'd be in a great mood, but because it's my favorite band, I went a little bit out of control. And anyway, well, we were just going to cover this, so why don't we cover it all together and get everybody's thoughts on this? So, have you heard of the dating app, The League?
Yes. Somebody signed me up once for that. Yeah.
Okay. So the idea with The League, it's a little elitist in this sense, but you're on a big waiting list, and until you get in from the waiting list, you are just served 3 potential matches a day. And if you match with one of those 3, then you two can talk and do the dating thing. Okay. So my profile, I'm going to read you my profile. First,
she's serious. Sarah's serious.
No. Okay. Just so that you can get an idea of why I find this weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So edit my profile. Here it is. So it just says, a couple pictures and about me. Entrepreneur, fiercely independent. I will not give up my energy for just anyone, but I'm very open-minded and in search of companionship. Okay. So this fellow writes to me, "I'm very open-minded also, and I like that in a partner. It usually leads to ignorance and arrogance at some point, I find, though. When you combine the words open-minded and companionship in the same sentence, I got confused. Does that mean you're into polygamy?
Oh,
because
I was just going to say.
Because if you are, that's cool. But if that's the case, sorry, this is not for me. Maybe when I was 20 and not officially in a relationship, but as soon as I'm official with someone, it's them and that's it. I'm either their one and only or I'm gone permanently. If I'm not my partner's number one when it comes to dating, then I'm not and never will be their partner. I probably could have made this message shorter, but whatever, because I'm just looking out for myself, because I also won't lose energy on anybody else that's not worthwhile. A person who's worthwhile generally won't make you lose your energy on them unless it's in a good way. This is the first.
Am I still awake?
Oh my God.
Me too. I fell asleep.
Dear diary, Jesus.
He sounds like
Wrap
a catch. I hope you got in touch with him after you read the 8
So I
pages
thought about it for a day. I was like, I'm just going to, I've been really sick for 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's come back this Monday. Good talk. Thrilling conversation.
Well, first of all, he could be institutionalized. So I would if you want some laughs, maybe go back and forth with him. But
like just for our Patreon content, I swear I should just string him along a little bit.
What angry man.
Yeah, angry. Oh my gosh, that's way too much information.
But I totally got polygamy out of what you'd written
You
down.
did?
I did.
No.
When I say
Jesus
open-minded?
Christ, no, fuck, I'm kidding.
Okay, good.
But I will say that I think he is
Caitlin
hedging.
got polygamy.
No, I didn't get that. But when he said that, I thought to myself, oh, you too are operating in the hellscape of quote unquote ethical non-monogamy taking over dating apps. So the number of people who say that they're ENM, which is ethical non-monogamy,
I have to
AKA
Google it every time. Every time I see it, I'm like, what does that mean again?
Yeah. And so it means that you're in an open relationship, but who knows if the other person knows that it's open, part one. And also just like enough with looking for a third, like, holy shit. Like so many of my girlfriends.
Looking for a second, isn't it? Like now you're looking for multiples on the dating app. If I can get 2 or 3 out of this, I'm going to go for this.
Yeah. And it's like, it's also too, it's like a nude beach rule where it's like, it's never who you want to be. ENM who's ENM. Like it's never like, oh, this person's like Brad Pitt, so they like can't keep the ladies at bay. It's like a person who looks like they're working at like a cell phone counter with like a vest on. You're like, this is never for me.
To all you people working at cell phone counters with vests on,
she
you
doesn't
can send
mean
your
anything
letters
by it.
too.
If you're ENM.
Well, no, I actually have a Substack called Senior Bitches, and I wrote this Substack that said, to all the men on Bumble, are you guys okay? Because I was like, I don't think I have the skill anymore to navigate this landscape. Like, first of all, your profiles, like your top picture has nothing to do with your bottom. And like compatibility, if you're 6 feet, 6 inches shorter and like off the grid, or, like we're probably not a good match. And like, why are you telling me about your penchant for anal and choking and how much you love your mom? Like, it's all like confusing to me.
Oh my God.
And then I took 3 responses from 3 different men, and I asked people, what would you do? The first guy was like, I live in Newport, come to Newport. We'll walk the beach. We'll have wine together. I belong to the yacht club. My house is near the yacht club. Maybe you'll come by after we go to the yacht club and have more wine at my house. Give me your ETA when you'll be here. Sounded a bit stalkerish. The second guy was like, I love this picture of you with your hands. Your hands are so interesting and mystifying.
Fetish.
And I love what your hands are doing. I was holding wine. And then he said, I don't know if you know this, but I was in the Lake Placid Olympics. Okay, I didn't know that. And then he told me about Bitcoin and crypto. And I was like, no. And then the final guy was, why don't you smile in any of your profile pictures? You must be a total bitch. And he was from LA. So
God.
I'm like, I said, I'll try again tomorrow. No, I won't.
Well,
Who
okay.
would you choose?
So I want to come back.
There's no choice there for me. I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with my dog.
Yeah.
And I'll probably just go get some more batteries for my
whatever
end
you
of times.
got. Yeah.
My flashlight. I don't know what you guys were going to say. I was going to say get more batteries so I could read under my blankets with my flashlight.
Duracell's a sponsor of the Jann Arden podcast. Sponsored by Duracell.
That's fine. Come on, bring it on.
Technically
Duracell.
the Energizer Bunny, but anyways.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, maybe like the last person that you engaged with and actually went on a date with, why did it not work out?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I got to think. Even though my psychic says I've got a man coming, 2 men coming for me.
Same
One
time?
with blue eyes, one with green eyes. They're successful, who will love me for what I am. Okay, whatever. They're coming my way. The last person that I was with for 6 or 7 months. He lived in North California. I won't go into detail, but we had an issue that came up, and I said, I want to talk to you about it, and have not heard from him in a year. That was my
What? He avoided as soon as you had to have a
he
tougher
ghosted
conversation.
Me. At 62, he ghosted me.
What
okay?
the hell?
Jann, you jealous? At 62.
I think people are so frightened of intimacy and connection and truth that I can't imagine what the dating world is like out there. I have so little to do with it. And maybe I'm all those things. I mean, I'm being honest. Maybe I am afraid of intimacy. Maybe I am afraid of connection. But I'll tell you right now, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't want anyone in my bed. I don't want anyone sleeping over. I don't want anyone in my shower. I don't want to make a fucking drawer in my, I don't want to make space in my closet. I don't want you feeding my dog shit that he can't have. I don't want you telling me I can't read. I don't want you calling me right now. I don't want to read your email. So what does that tell you? I did 40 years of relationships.
Yeah.
I am 62.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the lowest common denominator on all of this stuff. And I say lowest because I'm selfish. Work comes first. I don't share well. I'm all the things. But
it is on your dating profile. Do you have this on your dating profile?
No, I would break the internet because I'd be so desirable, Mary Jo. I would break if I were to write
I'm getting turned on.
Well,
I love
but
that.
this is all the things I'm telling you. I don't want anyone living in my house.
Yeah, either do I. I do not. I can't imagine, because you wake up with them every day, and most days you're not going to like them, and they're going to irritate you anyway. See, I'm not coming from a good place of having a relationship, but I'm trying to be open. But I think the dating apps are
not too
shopping
open
for humans, not too open. Shopping for humans, I'm not good at. I make bad decisions. If in the real world and organically I meet somebody great, I'll give it a shot.
Wouldn't you love to be just you're with a group of pals and you meet someone great?
Yeah.
That would be the dream. I don't want a friggin' dating app story.
I know. I have so many.
Whatever you got from that guy, he did you a favor, because I would read one pair. I was nodding off. Caitlin was nodding off. I watched her.
Forget it. That's a diary entry, sir. That's not a message on a dating app. No, that's not.
It's every red flag you could ever want. But honestly, the shopping for humans online, I'm not, again, I'm not shopping. Good at it. And I don't like it. I don't like it. It's curated. I can't get the energy. So my desire, that's why I need to move out of LA, is to meet somebody, to meet a man in real life, like this, not like this. Oh God, you're standing in front of your toilet and the seat's up. Not a good sign.
I know. Think about the pictures you're sending in. Think about the pictures.
Oh, I know.
My very gay road manager, Chris, he still is braving the dating scene out there. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, he'll just go. He's like, you know what? I signed up. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try it.
That's sort of where I come from. It's we'll just see what's out there.
But he walks in and he's looking for the pictures. He's had 3 pictures of a person on this app. He's in fucking Tim Hortons or whatever the lovely places that they've decided to meet. And he's looking at the 6 people, the elderly couple, 2 single guys. He goes to walk out, and then one of the guys goes, "Hey, Chris,
want a breakfast sandwich?"
And he's just like, "No. Where did you get this photograph from?"
I know.
I mean, talk about AI, Caitlin. It's like
Tim Hortons.
Well, also too, you do have Facetune, and I've seen there was a woman, and she posted a video, and she included the filter that she uses for her photos online, and she put it on herself while she was starting this video, and she was complaining that the guy who she went to meet wasn't into dating her again because he said she didn't look the same as she did in her photos. And then she takes the filter off, and I was like, "Girl, you look different. Better? You can't have that." Yeah, she looked way better with the filter on. Yeah. And it's not to say that she looked bad with the filter off. It just isn't the same. And so I was like, I do think that the Facetune of it all on dating apps now is probably creating a huge issue, and it would make people even more cynical because you don't even know what you're going to get. I just imagine Chris walking in.
Who are you connecting with? Like, who is this person? And do they live in their mother's basement? And like, have they been arrested? Like, who are these people that you're going to meet at the Tim Hortons?
Well, and I also just think your point about like what you were saying, Mary Jo, about like your vibe can't be picked up. Like you can't portray like the vibe and the essence of you as a person very well on these apps. And so you're going to have to cast a pretty wide net. And it's a lot of time and energy that I just think most busy people who are understandably tired of this, like they don't have it.
This makes me want to fuck with this guy and write back to him.
No, my God, don't.
The entertainment of
Energy is a finite resource. Don't spend it on that.
I've done that a few times with some of the guys but then you worry that they can track you and might show up at your location. So
I always worry about people's well-being now. Like I always worry about your well-being and if they go one step too far, if they're those incel guys that are just so frustrated that they can't have sex with a woman and that you're the person that literally makes that snap. Like you're the straw that broke the camel toes back. And it's just, it's just there. Anyway, getting back to you, the wonderful Mary Jo Eustace, who has been our fantastic guest today. And I want you to know that you are one of us and you are welcome here any single time. You got something to talk about?
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8. You fucking drop me a ding dong and I will have you on here quicker than you can say polyamorous.
Okay, that's 3 or 4 syllables. Okay,
yeah.
good.
What? So Traders was a riot. You're going to develop Senior Bitches, the TV travel show about aging.
Yes.
Listen, we are going to be cheering you on and doing that.
Oh, thank you.
What else? I mean, the podcast is going strong. You're feeling good. You're feeling courageous. Like life is good. And right now, would you say this is your parents' time? This is Mary Jo Eustace trying to keep your parents alive and upright.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going through a bit of what you went through.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that. And I was in Canada, Toronto for 2 weeks dealing with all that, and I want to write about it. And we talked about it. And boy, oh boy, to make long story very short, like the shit show that it was, that it is, that it will continue to be at the end of the day, right? All that it's about. And boy, did I get this lesson, is love. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
Who knew? So I'm learning that. Thank you. I can't believe you're single. I can't believe, because you should be in a wonderful relationship. You're super cute. You've got great energy.
You're not polyamorous. In the mosque parking lot.
In a mall parking lot?
Mosque.
Because Jann has the thing where I told her that on the podcast. It's just wrapping it all up here.
But I think it's a fantastic story, but I think it has jettisoned her into a path now in her life that when she did that in the mosque parking lot, like somebody was not thrilled about it.
I should have fasted on Yom Kippur that year.
Oh God, who knew? Well, it's better than a Tim Hortons. I don't know. Maybe they're the same.
I'm giving up Lent for Lent. That's what I'm giving up. I'm religionless. I'm not. Am I agnostic? I guess. Anyway, this isn't about me. So Mary Jo, you are. When can we expect to see this show going into development? What do you need? Do you need me to go after some rich bitches to get some money together for this? What needs to happen?
100%.
Okay.
Well, yeah, 100%. Okay. So I've got another show that's in financing for PBS, which is really exciting, and I want to tell you about that. I mean, I can talk about it. I'll whisper. It's a show basically where we go to somebody's hometown or where they live, and I get to spend the day with this person. We start off with coffee, and either they've lived there, they grew up there, or they're back, and we can go like to their old high school, knock on their girlfriend.
This is what I mean about people talking to you.
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah. You are magical that way.
Oh, thank you. This is what I want to do. Love it.
Yeah, that's probably why. It's like people know when you can sense when someone wants to talk to you and is curious. And so if you're that way, then people will gravitate towards it.
If you spend a day with somebody in like the past and the future and all that stuff. So we're in funding. So please God, PBS in the new year.
Please.
And then this other one about aging. I know I'm going to hit you up. I'm going to get you to hit up contacts for me. I know you will. You're a guest on the aging one where I come to stay for 6 to 8 weeks and we see if that works.
Jesus Christ, come and stay here.
She'll be 72 by the time you leave.
So that's what I'm planning, but lots of good
fantastic.
things. And maybe a little something. I'm very drawn to Europe a little. I don't know. I'm open. Let's see.
I love that. And that's what it is. And the thing with you too is that, and I think all four of us here today share this. We don't have to be particularly at the expert level to go and try things, whether it's writing, a travel piece, like an op-ed piece on traveling, or whether it's doing podcasting, or whether it's, curating whatever you're doing. We don't have to be at the expert level. We just go do shit. And that's what we want our listeners to remember too. Get out there and have an adventure. And God, the best part of going down a hill is rolling, really. There's nothing fun about walking. You gotta lay down and roll down the hill.
It's energy. It's the flow. You got to get in the flow, and you got to be curious. And oh my God, I've made such a fool of myself. I've failed so many times on a constant basis. And it's just part of the journey now. Like, what do I care? I'm learning. Yeah. So that's the most important thing. So I'm just curious. I see what comes my way, but I like to connect with people. I like stories, and I like, not problem solve, but I'm interested in all of that. Like,
and it
how
shows.
we can make it more joyful. How can we make it a unique experience? So that's what I'm up to currently.
Well,
single.
Thank you. And Mary Jo, you've just been amazing. You've been so generous with your time today. And this has gone by so fast. I just looked up at the little time counter, but Mary Jo Eustace has been our guest on the Jann Arden podcast. Go watch Traders. If you want to go on YouTube and watch What's for Dinner, there are 700 episodes out there in the World Wide Web, and it is charming, funny. Yes, 25 years old, 26 years old, but you'll see real partnership, and you'll see the beginning of the Food Network with Mary Jo Eustace and her show that she created with Ken. And all the stuff you're going to do. Senior Bitches, the podcast, go listen to every episode that's up. They are fucking fantastic. I just can't wait to see what you do, how you make your way through the world. You're a unicorn, and you're fucking sexy, and you're just killing it.
People listening to this? Hello.
I don't know. Phone your mother back. I want you to phone your mother back.
You have to tell us if these two men arrive.
I'm going to let you guys know that. Well, when I come to Jan's, we'll do this.
You're welcome here anytime.
But I'm going to let you know. But I've thoroughly enjoyed today. You gals are a great bunch of bitches. So thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
These are junior senior bitches in the making.
Junior senior bitches. I love that.
I can see. Oh, that's a good term. I like that. Junior senior bitches. Okay, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, you can have junior senior bitches on your show. Like they're bitches in waiting.
Okay, this is a whole subcategory I can have.
Yes.
Okay, I'm into it. Okay,
I got white hair. I'm down.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Toodly doo.